Hey there, Chris here from IELTS Advantage, and last year about 3 million people did the IELTS test and hundreds of thousands of them failed that test because of avoidable problems related to the actual IELTS system. So these are 4 things that if I was the CEO of IDP or the British Council, these are 4 things that I would fix. And I'll also give some advice to students on how to deal with these 4 problems and make sure that you get the score that you need. So, number 1 is the inconsistency or the lack of quality of teaching. So, if I want to go to the hospital, I am pretty sure that that doctor has gone through all of the training needed to be a doctor and to treat me. Or if I have a legal problem, I know that the lawyer that I'm going to went to law school, has all of the certificates and the diplomas and the degrees that they need in order to solve my problem. But if an IELTS student wants to find an IELTS teacher, they have no idea about whether they are the best IELTS teacher in the world or whether they are absolutely terrible, and they're going to give them really, really bad advice that will lead to them actually failing the test. As a student, you are relying upon the teacher to tell you what to do. And it only takes a couple of Google searches to see that there are some great teachers out there and there are some terrible teachers out there. And how could we fix this problem? Well, you could easily fix this problem by coming up with some sort of certification process where a teacher can get a certificate which says IDP or the British Council or Cambridge English taught me how to teach IELTS. And in order to get this certificate, you need to have, for example, you would probably need to have a CELTA already so you know how to teach. You would have to have a certain IELTS score so your English is good enough, and you would be able to show that you have probably taught general English for at least a couple of years before you are able to even do this certification. Now, that might seem like the bar is really, really high, but you're dealing with people's futures and with people's finances and with people's lives here. Getting the score that they need and not getting the score that they need can mean the difference between being stuck in a country they don't want to live in anymore and living in the country of their dreams and helping themselves and their family. So it is really, really serious, and I think it's time for everybody to take it as seriously as the students do. And I don't think that it should be like a 2-day course like you'll see some people running at the moment, where teachers can go and they spend half the time daydreaming and falling asleep at their desk and listening to someone talk for a couple of hours. It should be at least as rigorous as, let's say, the CELTA, or probably even more rigorous. And unless people pass that, then they can't show someone that certificate. So imagine a world where someone could be able to walk into a school, or if they're getting taught online, to ask their teacher, can you prove to me that you are a certified IELTS teacher? And the great thing about that also would be it's another revenue stream for the British Council or IDP or Cambridge. If your main priority is to make more money, then do this and get the teachers to pay you in order to do this course, and therefore you're improving the quality of the teachers and you're making money at the same time. Because it seems to me many of the problems that IELTS have, or the system of IELTS has, is that people are trying to make profit, and profit seems to be number 1, and we'll talk about that later on. But if you want to make more profit, that's a thing that you could do that kills 2 birds with 1 stone. So as a student, what can you do to mitigate against or guard against this problem? Well, don't go with a teacher who has just passed the IELTS test a month ago or 6 months ago and now thinks that they're an IELTS teacher. Don't go to a school that guarantees you a band 9 in 2 weeks. If they're making some unbelievable claims in their marketing, they're probably a scam school. Don't go for the cheapest possible teacher that you can find. If you buy the cheapest possible car that you can find, or buy the cheapest possible house that you can find, what's going to happen? You're going to get a terrible car or a terrible house. The cheapest is normally the worst. I'm not saying the most expensive is the best, but use your own common sense. Any teacher that has helped many, many, many IELTS students in the past should have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of testimonials from real students. I'm not talking about fake testimonials, but if you go onto our website, you will see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of real people saying how we help them. If you are thinking of joining a school or joining a teacher, ask them to put you in contact with their past students, or at least look at the videos that they've made or the testimonials that they have from past students, and then you will get a good teacher. So that's problem number one. So problem number two, improve the staff and the equipment at test centers. So we get emails every single day from students saying, I was ready for my test and I went to the test center and they were so disorganized, they were so rude. Then we went into the room and everything again was really disorganized, or it was too hot or it was too cold, and the equipment for the listening wasn't working and I couldn't get anything done, and I was so stressed out that I failed the test. Things like stress and people being rude to one another and equipment failures and equipment not being good enough and outdated do affect people's scores. And the really, really simple solution to this is train your people better. My wife actually did the IELTS test about a year ago. I went to the test center with her. I didn't go into the room or anything with her, but the people there were rude to her. They were very, very disorganized. They were very stressed out. And that's not that person's fault working there. That's the manager's fault. That's the owner's fault for not training their people right. In my company, if somebody does a bad job, that's my fault for not training them properly or not giving them the correct message, or that is my fault because it is my business. And I think that's the mindset that you guys need to have, is when you're training your people, make sure you train them properly and that they are polite to people. They're giving you a lot of money. These students deserve good service. Again, when it comes to equipment failures and outdated equipment, spend some money on it. You're not going to make as much profit, but if you prioritize short-term profits over long-term profits and thinking, how are we going to actually look after people, then like any business, you're going to be in all sorts of problems, or you're going to have all sorts of problems. So if you're a student, how can you get over this? How can you guard against this? Number one, make sure that you know where your test center is, get there on time, know where the room is, and you're going to reduce a huge amount of stress there. Get there like an hour early and get into the room, and then you're not going to be there at the last minute and the staff are not going to react to you in a really stressed out way. So you're reducing the amount of stress that you have there. Even go there the week before and ask them questions like, where are the toilets? Can I bring water in? Can I bring food in? These things are going to have an effect on your score, and if you plan ahead, then you're going to really see the benefit of it on test day. And number two, if there's an equipment failure, or the headphones are not working, or the examiner is really rude to you or does something that they shouldn't be doing, complain on the day and demand your money back or a new test. A lot of people email us the day after they do the test and say, the headphones weren't working, or the examiner cut me short way before he or she was supposed to do it. And I said, well, what did you say to them at the time? It's like, I said nothing. If you don't complain, then they're not going to do anything. You've given them money, you deserve a good service. Complain on the day if that is the case. And also, if you have multiple test centers within your area or within your city, research them. Ask people what their experience was like. The test is going to be the same. The examiners have the same training, although we'll talk about that in point number 4. But some of them might be more modern than others, or the staff might be a bit better trained. So go with the one that you get the recommendation for. Number 3, and nearly every student will agree with this, you should be able to keep your good scores. So a problem that we see again and again and again, and one of the reasons why people hate the IELTS test, is a common scenario where your listening is great, your reading is great, your speaking is great, you've got those scores. Every time you do the test, you get the scores that you need, and you don't get the score that you need for writing. Why not allow people to keep their reading, listening, or speaking scores and just focus on the writing test, so that they are not put through the rigmarole of having to go through the listening test and the reading test and the speaking test and then go and do the writing test. Why not have a cheaper version where you just allow people to do the writing test and then they can bank those good scores that they already have? You're going to make less money, you're going to make less profit in the short term, but if you keep doing this, you're going to maybe be bankrupt in the future because people are going to gravitate towards other better tests that allow them to do that. There's no reason why, if somebody does a test this week and gets a band 9 in reading, listening and speaking, but a band 6 in writing, there's no reason why they can't bank those 3 scores and then just do the writing test next week and then get the score that they need. That's probably not going to happen because it's going to mess with your short-term profits. But again, any business that focuses on short-term versus long-term is going to be in trouble. So if you're a student, how can you overcome this problem? Well, what I would do is, if you have a problem with just one skill, so everything else is great except one thing, normally it's writing, totally focus on that one thing. Because we often have students who are getting 9 for reading, 9 for listening, 8 for speaking, but they're stuck at 6 or 6.5 for writing. Ignore the things that you're really, really good at. You don't need to work on those things. Focus on the thing that needs your attention and find out the exact reasons why you didn't get the score that you need. That is going to cost you a little bit of money because you're going to need to find a good teacher. They will have to look at your writing, give you feedback on your writing. It's going to cost you a little bit of money, but that will cost you way less than having to go and fail the test over and over and over and over again. Our data, we collect data from our VIP students. Most of them failed 3 times before they joined us. And most of them spent over $1,000 failing the test on all of those fees and teacher fees and travel expenses. So that's a huge amount of money. Spend a wee bit of money, a little bit of money, on finding out the exact reasons why you are getting that low score, and then take action to improve on those areas. Like, for example, if there was something wrong with your car, you would take it to an expert who's a mechanic. They would fix the one part that needs fixing, and then your car would be fine. Same with writing. I don't know exactly what the problem is with your writing, but if I looked at it, I could tell you in 2 minutes what the problem is, and then you could work on fixing that. So that's what to do to overcome that problem. And number 4, improve the reputation and the integrity of the test by being far more transparent about examiner training and examiner performance. Just go on to any YouTube video about IELTS and read the comments. You'll see things over and over and over again that sound like, my examiner didn't know what he was doing, my examiner, she is biased, this examiner here always gives low scores. Now, I don't really agree with those people, but what I do agree with is IELTS does have a bad reputation, and I think you could combat that by revealing the amount of training that examiners go through. Look at the quality assurance that examiners go through. How often are they checked? How rigorous is the quality assurance on their work? A big thing would be to reveal the percentage of people who go for a remark who actually get higher scores. There is a huge perception among students that they are being failed on purpose so that they will have to go for a remark, and then a lot of them do go for a remark and then they get higher scores. Now, I don't agree with that. I don't think that IELTS are lowering scores on purpose or anything like that, because that would be fraud on a huge scale, and I don't think a company like the British Council or Cambridge English or IDP would actually do that. But you could stop all of this nonsense and all of this rumor and conjecture by just releasing some data and saying, this is the number of students who went for a remark, this is the number of students who got their scores increased, and then you could dispel all of these myths. Also, maybe incentivize examiners to improve their performance. So the teachers who work for me, we do a huge amount of quality assurance on their work. We check everything that they do, and if they get above a certain score, we give them a bonus. If they get below a certain score, they lose that bonus, and if they continue to get below that score, we fire them. To my knowledge, that doesn't happen with examiners, but when you incentivize people to do an amazing job, and you like disincentivize them by messing with their money, see how well they perform when you do that. That would be very, very unpopular amongst the examiners, but what's more important? The opinion of the examiners or the futures of the students doing the test? And to combat that problem, as a student, what you should do is don't give the examiners any excuse to give you a score lower than you deserve. Be so good that you, no matter what happens, you are going to get the score that you need. And again, as I said before, that comes down to finding out the reasons why you are at a certain score and understanding exactly what you need to do in order to get the scores that you need and working on that. And don't be defeating yourself by saying it's all a scam and people are doing that, failing me on purpose, and the examiners aren't good enough, and all of these things. You're guaranteeing that you're going to fail if you do that. Whereas with our students, and we have more success stories than any other online or offline IELTS course in the world, with our students, we show them exactly what to do. Here's why you are at a 6.5 or a 6 or whatever. Here's exactly what to do in order to move to the score that you need, and encourage them to do the work. No shortcuts, no tricks, no hacks, just good, honest work. Do these things, improve, and then you'll get the score that you need. So in the comments below, do you agree with those problems? Do you think that I was fair? Do you agree with the solutions? Do you have any problems you want to put down below that I haven't thought about, or any alternative solutions? And it would be great to hear from you. And as a little reward for making it to the end of this video, click below or see in the description below. I'll give you my fundamentals course, which will help you understand exactly what to do on the test, absolutely free. Thanks very much, guys. Hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have, give it a thumbs up, or just let me know that you enjoyed it in the comments, and be sure to subscribe if you want to get notifications when we make new videos. Thank you very much, guys, and see you again soon. Bye bye.